What's up, your boy Vaughn? Another reaction. In today's video, we have 9 great wrestlers who are terrible at one specific thing. About what culture wrestling? Mission like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into it. What culture? uh, I used to be
Your
a big
favorite
fan. I still fuck with them, but y'all remember they fucking wrestling promotion?
your favorite bands have bad songs. Your favorite actors and directors have made bad movies. And guess what? Your favorite wrestlers
Rock got a lot of bad movies.
have holes in their game. Even the biggest legends to ever grace the squared circle have things that they suck at. It's just a fact of life. With that in mind, I am Gareth, this is What Culture Wrestling, and here are 9 great wrestlers who were terrible at one specific thing. Number 9, The Rock. The Rock is all about personality in whatever he does.
I'm gonna have to see what you say. I don't think The Rock was bad at nothing. Like, I ain't gonna lie, him and Stone Cold, the perfect wrestlers. Them niggas wasn't bad. Mike worked, but I really don't care about in ring wrestling ability. I care about, like, is you a funny person? You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of amazing fucking wrestlers. You know what I'm saying?
But this applies to his in-ring work more than anything else.
Yeah, you gotta talk about his in ring shit. Yeah, saying he not the best. He wasn't the best wrestler. Yeah, and The Rock was entertaining on that mic. That's why I give a The Rock a meme. The Rock funny.
Whatever the people's champ lacked in wrestling prowess, he more than made up for with his ability to pop a crowd. Not so great at technical wrestling. Who cares?
Nigga, if The Rock came back right now, niggas hype. Niggas gonna be tuning in the WWE. The views gonna go up. Like,
When your kip up makes thousands of people lose their damn minds, and the spit punch works like a charm. But even armed with the knowledge that The Rock is more dedicated to showmanship than technical endeavors, watching him do the sharpshooter was a painful thing to behold. The Great One knew how to apply all of the drama to slapping the move on an opponent, but it always looked aesthetically terrible, loose and cumbersome. It was perhaps not a great idea.
Not look like it hurt.
Here to steal a move from one of the greatest in-ring technicians of all time. It's a bizarre addition to his regularly used array of moves, because so much of what The Rock does is all about popping a crowd. The spine on the pine, the people's elbow, and the rock bottom are all basic moves, but are incredibly pleasing on the eye. Best to leave the sharpshooter to the professionals, eh? And that applies to most of the current generation, to be honest. Number 8, Shane McMahon. Yeah, okay, so calling Shane McMahon...
That nigga Shane McMahon was just a daredevil. He was just doing shit.
A great wrestler might be a stretch. That is stretchier than Stretch Armstrong doing an abdominal stretch on Stretch Street. But it does not mean we can't point out how ludicrous some of Shane O'Mac's in-ring work really was. Despite being an integral part of the Attitude Era with some great feuds under his belt against the likes of Big Show and Kurt Angle, his rudimentary wrestling has aged over time like moldy fruit. Shane Moldman, more like. Haha, never mind. Shane has also had a long-standing and well-documented love of all things MMA, and that was to his detriment when it came to throwing punches in the squared circle. Oh yeah, we're going there. It's unclear as to whether or not Shane thought he was adding a dose of realism to his punches in his later years, but he was much more convincing when prancing around, swinging his arms around like a broken clock and throwing jabs than he was at making his haymakers look like something to be feared. We were not very scared. Fans will always be able to look back fondly at Shane's daredevil stunts and being thrown off of really high structures, but his ugly punches remain the stuff of nightmares. Quick question, with that in mind, actually.
Like, I know Shane was scared as fuck falling off them shits. Like, oh my gosh, nigga like me, bro. I gotta look back. Like, he couldn't look back. Like, nigga like me gotta look back for like just falling on a bunch of tables.
Who do you think throws the best punches in wrestling today? Let me know in the...
Who threw the best punches? Probably the Big Show. Look at the Big Show punch. That shit look real as fuck. Look like he really punched that nigga. Probably the Big Show.
Comments down below. Number 7, Kenny Omega. Now they don't call him the...
Kenny Omega is not the best mic worker. He's not the best, but Kenny Omega is a hell of a wrestler, but he's not the best on the mic. That's probably what you're gonna talk about.
Spout machine for nothing. Kenny Omega is one of the most justifiably revered wrestlers of his generation. And by the
But he is the biggest wrestler outside of the biggest wrestler that never wrestled in WWE. That's what I'm about to say. The biggest wrestler that never wrestled in WWE.
time he hangs up his boots, he will go down as one of the most legendary in-ring performers of all time. That said, even the best of the best have parts of their game that seem to annoy the hell out of people. Detractors of The Cleaner have often been irritated by the facial expressions that Kenny pulls during matches. As the Canadian made his name for himself in New Japan Pro Wrestling, he is one of the Western superstars.
Man, he Canadian too. Damn, Canada got a lot of wrestlers. Edge, Christian, him. Like,
Who fully embrace Japanese culture in a way that some fans from the US, Canada, and Europe found a bit hard to accept. Omega is on record as having a big love of anime and fighting games in which characters are known to pull extreme facial expressions. I don't know if you've got a picture of me doing that now, but if you do...
the nigga in, he in Tekken, I'm pretty sure.
Here it is on screen. Kenny has always employed these aesthetics in his matches, and that seems to be an acquired taste for some fans. Now yes, wrestling is a bombastic art form. Even still, Omega's application of extreme snarls and wide-eyed facial contortions has always been a source of annoyance for a very, let's say, vocal set of fans. Number 6, John Cena. It feels very 2013 to be criticizing John Cena for anything he does inside the ring. Cena has always been an easy target for those who have a preference for in-ring technicality.
There'd be niggas that say John Cena can't wrestle. Niggas like that.
And there's a list as long as the Great Khali's arm of gripes that have been aired ad nauseum over the years. Most of them are valid, to be honest, but almost all of them miss the point that John had a gift for putting the entertainment in sports entertainment. That's just what he did. Even with that caveat, it is genuinely hilarious how loudly John Cena chooses to call his spots inside the wrestling ring. The likes of WWE Unreal and a 24/7 news cycle that constantly updates fans on what's going on behind the curtain have long killed any sense of reality to any aspect of pro wrestling. Nevertheless, hearing John shouting "hit me in the back" and "duck the clothesline" as loudly as the in-house commentary team is distracting in the extreme. Yes, I know it's loud in the arena or stadium or wherever he is, but your opponent is literally there. Maybe he's just making up for being invisible, who knows? The choreography of pro wrestling is an art form in itself, and Cena's success and litany of classic matches definitely speak for themselves, but still, Cena bellowing "kick me" is objectively ridiculous. Number 5, Edge. Across his WWE career, Edge had audiences spellbound during his matches. A great in-ring storyteller who was able to draw extreme emotion from the audience across the singles and tag divisions, few performers of his generation could generate heat or gasps of wonder from crowds of all sizes quite like the Rated R superstar. This only makes it more surprising that his finisher lacked finesse. Edge's spear always looked a bit flat, really, especially after he sold the upcoming move so brilliantly, usually crouched in the corner of the ring with maniacal expressions. There's that face. Now sure, he's been slightly bailed out on this.
Him and Kenny Omega kind of look alike. They kind of got the same facial expression. They got them big ass eyeballs.
By the calamitous
Big ass
spears employed by Jey Uso over the last year or so. But when you existed on the same roster as Rhino, it was impossible to ignore the lackluster detonation of Edge's spear. If we're looking for kindness towards the ultimate opportunist, we always like to sprinkle a little bit of that into these videos. We will always have Edge's expert selling of his mid-air spear from a ladder onto Jeff Hardy at WrestleMania 17. That's a rarity though, as the majority of Edge's spears look less like being hit by a train and more like being soft-tackled by an out-of-breath linebacker. Right, before you carry on with this video right here, do not forget...
Dang, the spear ain't that bad. Shit, his spear ain't that bad. Is Roman's spear bad? Is that bad that you showing like the foot?
to spear that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit it harder than Edge, I beg you. Number 4, Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins blew WWE fans' minds when he joined the main roster as part of The Shield after a stellar run in NXT, where he was rightfully made the brand's first world champion, and his work in Ring of Honor that made him one of the most respected performers in the whole entire world. His reputation was catapulted into the stratosphere as he continued this form in multi-man tag matches and eventually a glittering solo career. He's done alright, our Seth. Seth's curb stomp finisher was one of the most beloved finishers in a generation, but it was outlawed for a few years there by Vince McMahon, with McMahon justifiably worried that WWE's younger fans would try the move at home and cause harm. And let's be honest here, potential lawsuits that could come from that. As such, Rollins
Gang, that try not. Yeah, you think we listen to this shit? That don't do this at home. Fucking warning. Kids probably still was doing the curb stomp on these siblings, on their brothers and shit. Niggas, we was still hitting the pedigree on each other. Like, we ain't listen to that shit. Kids ain't gonna listen. Like, we ain't gonna hear that.
adopted his mentor Triple H's pedigree as his finisher with far less fanfare. Triple H's pedigree works because of his sheer size and intensity. Seth Rollins is a far more nimble and agile performer, and his pedigree always felt flaccid and loose in comparison. It was just a bit crap, really, and still is when he pulls it out every now and then. The stomp was eventually reinstated, and all was well in the world once more, but the stench of Rollins' pedigree still lingers. Number 3, CM Punk. It is often taken for granted how much CM Punk has influenced the style of wrestling that so many people know.
I'd say CM Punk a perfect wrestler too. I ain't gonna lie. Mike work like.
And love
character,
today. Being signed from the indies at a time when working outside of WWE saw talent treated as if their craft was nothing more than a paid hobby, Punk opened the floodgates for performers from Ring of Honor and the early NXT classes that thrilled a new generation of sports-savvy wrestling fans. But Punk would have to leave moves like the Pepsi Plunge behind when wrestling for a publicly traded company like WWE, and has largely expertly transitioned his style to fit WWE. One of the few moves that he worked into his repertoire that doesn't quite land, though, is his top rope elbow drop. Pointing to the heavens with 2 fingers raised to the sky, CM Punk's top rope elbow drop is obviously done as a tribute.
I know that elbow drop hurt. Like he landing on your fucking stomach with the elbow. Yeah, I know that shit hurt.
To Macho Man Randy Savage. Given
You
how
gotta make your stomach tight for that bitch won't hurt too much.
integral Savage was to the boom period of the 80s, which enabled WWE to become the juggernaut that it is today. Randy has been woefully underappreciated by the company, and even if Punk's elbow drops are not to the standard of the originator or the stunning one employed by Kairi Sane to this day, the tribute is still admirable in its intention.
Dang, how do you? It's an elbow drop. Like how? Like what the fuck? You critiquing too much, fine. Like damn,
Number
nigga, how you want the
2,
nigga to do it? Like the.
Lance Storm. Oh sure, let's criticize one of the greatest wrestlers of the 1990s and early 2000s while we're here. Why not? Lance Storm is one of the most respected workers to ever grace professional wrestling. What he lacked in mic skills and charisma, he made up
Canadian too.
for
And Bret Hart Canadian. Damn.
tenfold with an eye-watering array of moves and a technical proficiency that any wrestler lacing up a pair of boots should aspire to. So it's nice of Lance to remind us that he is in some way human by being completely unable to use a steel chair. This wasn't so bad when he worked for WCW and WWE in the latter part of his career, but it was undoubtedly a hindrance while he plied his trade in ECW. Known for extremity so much that it was literally in the name of the company, being unable to wield the most popular illegal foreign object of all time was far from ideal. Hey, if you doubt me, just look up World's Safest Chair Shot and watch Lance hitting Rob Van Dam with a chair like he's trying to break the top of an egg to dip his toast into. Yeah, not the best, but at least it was safe, eh? And number 1, Bret Hart. Bret Hart is arguably the most respected in-ring performer of the televised era. The man is so talented that he could put on a 5-star classic with a mop. In fact, the the excellence of execution is so revered that people continue to pay tribute to him by stealing his spots and moves to this day. Nobody really complains about it either, because if you're gonna steal, well, you may as well steal from the best there is, was, and ever will be. Saying that, I will complain a little bit, because maybe let's just give the sharpshooter a rest for a little while, folks, yeah? Just a thought. No one can do it as good as Brett. Right, now for the one terrible thing, and a very specific thing at that. It's a peculiar gripe for some of his detractors to have, but pay attention to the Hitman's matches, and Brett often walks around with his mouth completely ajar. It doesn't affect the quality of his work whatsoever.
Gang, you put this nigga in there because you talking about his mouth always been open. Gang, you a punk. Gang, you a punk.
But it has proven to be a jarring visual element to his vast array of classic matches for some. Brett's mouth gaping
Now white niggas be punks.
like a fish out of water has proven to be aesthetically distracting for some of wrestling's more pinickety fans. It's present in almost all of his matches, so it's not an unfounded criticism, but it does still feel a tad harsh, right? Given that Brett is a contender for the greatest wrestler of all time, who's kind of good at this wrestling stuff. Right, if you've enjoyed taking a look at
Make sure like, comment, subscribe, and all deuces. Did I mean?